Okay, looks like it's 5:01. We'll go ahead and get started. This is Thursday, 13 February 2020. We're doing LDR 360. This is what, week 5. Okay, so again, this term is flying past. All right, so I've got Moodle up, and this is your class, right? So you're in the right spot, and we'll cover this week's chapter questions here in just a second. Biggest thing, again, remember the Zoom sessions are available. Come up here on the Zoom, and then on each week, you got the means to see what I've covered. Obviously, it's not a requirement, but you're allowed to dial in. This kind of counts as an office hour, if you will, for me. I note as I look on the YouTube page, looks like 1 or 2 maybe looked at last week's. Week before there was 3, 2, and then that looks like January 16th. So that was 1, 2. Was that week 2? Had 5 views. No, that'd been week 1. So week 1 had 5 views. So that was probably the best week. All right. So I didn't get a chance to take a look at your discussion board fully today. I did flip through it a little bit. A couple things on it is make sure you understand a little bit more on the global business plan, okay? You're going to expend an amazing amount of resources developing out whatever innovation this is, whether it's a new product, a new service, and the like. And that comes with a cost. The cost of the research and development in and of itself, the cost in procuring the supplies, the labor, the manufacturing capacity, the development of literature to go along with this new service or product or whatnot. So you're going to have an exceptional amount of expenditures. And you're not just going to do that without any regard for what the cost is. So in part, the global business plan is named global because it encompasses everything that is almost conceivable to that innovation or to that new product. To include pro forma income statements and the like. Pro forma, meaning this is not for real, this is what is projected. Somebody is going to go in and project what the costs are and what the revenue points are in order to see if this thing could even make a profit. If you're not going to make a profit, you're not going to be selling that product for very long. Even if you're a nonprofit and you are spending more than you're bringing in, your days are going to end pretty quick. Okay, so understand when I asked on what, in your view, is the purpose of global business plan. I was trying to see which of you was going to pick up on this and the importance of this to that organization and why one goes through it. All right. As an example, here in the city of Jacksonville, there is a gas station that shut down off of one of the main roads leading into the town just before you get to the New River Bridge. And it's a pretty impressive location. And it's right in front of a parking area where they've expanded parking for folks that want to boat their craft on the New River. So the city evidently bought this property for $500,000, and they want to turn it into a visitor center. Well, Okay, in and of itself, that sounds fine, but then you have to kind of ask yourself, all right, before we spend $500,000, do you think we'll make $500,000 in any way? And so the global business plan would be used to determine that before we sign a contract and expend $500,000 of taxpayer money. I mean, because if all that goes in there is just a bunch of brochures, not unlike what you normally see in a rack at a hotel, and if nobody uses it, because quite frankly, who goes into a visitor center in a town when you've got the internet and any other capability? So, call me a skeptic. I don't think that was a very wise decision, and I would fully suspect that nobody did a business plan on it. Nobody fully thought through how the city was in any way, shape, or form going to recoup $500,000 by buying an old gas station. I'm sure I'll be proved wrong. I hope I am. But in the end, it just didn't sound like a very, very smart idea. Okay, well, enough of that. So let's get back to our Moodle page. I think everybody could see it. All right. So week 5, right? Major reason for writing the global business plan. Well, one of the things I encourage you to do is take the time and define it. What is a global business plan? And what you find on there is it is different than the opportunity assessment plan that you would have seen in Chapter 7. In Chapter 8, and again, I'm just going through your text here. A global business plan is a document prepared by an inventor or entrepreneur that describes all the aspects of making the innovation into a new venture. Okay, well, this is the key. Okay, we're going to take this new venture, whatever it is, and we're going to bring it into our business. And so as you look at the global business plan, pages 139, 140, you see it laid out, and you see on the preceding page that there are 5 reasons the global business plan is written. The most important or the most frequent is to obtain financing for the innovation. Okay, how do you justify to somebody to spend their hard-earned money? How do you get the board to approve? How do you get whatever organization is, say you're the military, how do you get Congress to appropriate millions, if not billions of dollars? You better have the innovation developed into a case, okay, and then you make the case. Okay, 2, it identifies the resources needed in addition to the financial ones to include the people you're going to need working on it, which would also include organizational structure, organizational plan, form of ownership. Okay, I asked you in discussion question 2, what are the 8 general types? Well, those are forms of ownership, aren't they? Okay, so you could have linked the 2 there. You could have said, hey, one of the reasons to write in global business plan is it helps identify the corporate structure that we're going to operate under, whether we're going to operate under a proprietorship or a S chapter or whatever, okay? 3rd reason for the business plan is establishing the direction for the future development and launch of the innovation. All right, and then 4, a business plan also provides a way to evaluate the results of efforts on a regular basis. Okay, so as you're expending resources, wouldn't you like to know if it's a waste of time before you expend all your resources? Wouldn't it be good to kind of track and see how things are going before you realize that you've made a colossal error, okay? And then 5, the final purpose is to provide a document for the needed resources outside outsourcing partners or another partner. Quote, it is much easier for some company or individual to become involved with an innovation when the direction and end result are clearly defined. That's true for all of us, isn't it? Okay? So this is what I was looking for as you went through there. Instead, some of you kind of took the easy way out on it here. And I'll probably ding you a little bit on it. But, you know, the reason I ask these questions are for you to demonstrate knowledge, not just go on a scavenger hunt. And, you know, you need to develop through this a little bit the thinking that an undergraduate student should be demonstrating to this point, having read through. We've got a beautiful text here, which gives you a lot of good information. All right, use some of it if you will. Okay, this is not a hit. I'm not trying to beat you down, although I am coming across a little bit harsh. Maybe because I had a bad day. I don't know. I would say that a lot of you are doing well, but in this particular case, I don't think a lot of you spent much time answering these questions. Okay, and I can clearly see a couple of you didn't when you didn't even answer one of the questions. So again, this will get reflected. Now I got it. You know, 20% of the grade, not that bad. So you know, we'll see how we do here. Okay. All right. The 8 general types of corporations to be found on page 145. The whole idea there is, again, that's a form of ownership. This is understanding how things work in the world, making sure that you understand the organizational plan that is going to help present this this form of venture. If you are a small business owner, this is of immense importance to you because you have a lot of different aspects in form of ownership as to what your responsibility is in regards to legal liability, taxes that get paid, and essentially your rights as an owner. Okay, and so this is why we kind of go through this. Anyway, so if you didn't take much time reading the text before answering these questions, I'm going to ask that you go back and take a look. Certainly in my comments to you, I'm going to I'll explain now what kind of I was looking for. All right. Okay, and partly too on this is we've been together now 5 weeks. You know, a good many of you have had me for a previous course, so you know what I'm looking for as far as depth, and I know what each of you are capable of, and I'm gonna push you beyond your comfort zone because I think you'll be that much better of a leader. All right, so let's talk through scenario. You've got Ryanair, which is great, which is a great study. It's very intriguing. And I think it's one that is kind of funny when you compare it with Southwest. And so I hope you all have some fun with that, okay? All right, now, week 6, I just put out the assignment instructions for week 6. Again, under announcements. You see them. Once again, I've asked this too many times. but I'll ask it again for those of you who haven't got it in. What is the company or organization by name that you're going to be writing on for your final or for your organizational study paper that's due in week 7? Okay, I've gotten answers from some of you, and I'll show it here on the slide. In fact, let me go ahead and show that slide right now. All right, in black are those that I've heard from. Okay, so 4 of you have gotten it in. I'm circling that with my cursor right now, so it should be seen. And we're going to touch on Walmart, Lacrosse Unlimited, the NFL, and native watercraft. So that means I've got 4 of you that haven't gotten it into me yet. I'm assuming, unless I hear otherwise, that 2 of you that I had in a previous class are going to talk about the same company that you did your LDR 340 paper on. Okay? I don't like to assume, because that doesn't do you much good when it comes time for my grading, because I go in and I take a look at each of these organizations and do my own study, so that when I'm reading your paper, I usually don't have too many surprises. And that just helps me then focus on what you did and how you wrote your paper, okay? So it helps me give you a better evaluation. It also helps you out, okay? Identifying it now helps you do some of the research, so you're not waiting until the last minute. So for 4 of you, get it in, please. Okay, I've asked this now 2 weeks, 3 weeks in a row, and I'm not going to ask many more times. Okay, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Okay, getting back to our website. All right. Week 6 questions. You're going to be asked about the non-financial measuring tools. Okay, and I'm going to be very curious which one you do pick and then explain. Okay, and then you're going to go into how the organization can determine innovation and entrepreneurial performance. In other words, up to now, a lot of you have been saying to me that you think this organization is innovative and has entrepreneurial spirit. All right, well, we don't just say it, we got to be able to determine it, okay? And what is the ability for organizations to do that? So you're going to get introduced to the concepts of measures of effectiveness, okay? Are we doing the right things? And measures of performance. Are we doing things right? Okay, again, measures of effectiveness. Are we doing the right things? And measures of performance. Are we doing things right? And you have to understand these measures and make sure that they are relevant to what you're trying to measure, that they're observable, that they're quantifiable, and that they are realistic, okay? And this is, there's probably a couple other words you could have used in this, but this is an ability for you to come in and tell me about what are some of those measures that you think an organization could use, okay? It's not as simple as it sounds. So for example, a measure that you would use to determine innovation and entrepreneurial performance could be the number of suggestions you get in the Benny Suggs box, okay? You just usually see a box in the break room or in the foyer. Benefit suggestions, you write down your suggestion on what the company should be doing. Well, just having the next number of them doesn't necessarily quantify performance. So you get into some very unique examples of where you're having to come up with, again, relevant, observable, measurable measures. And this is very important because, again, if you are not getting accurate feedback, your machine is going to come apart on you. Think of your own automobile. You rely on a series of measures routinely to determine your vehicle's performance. You have readouts on engine RPMs, how much gas is in your vehicle, what your oil pressure is, what your water temperature is, what the battery health is, right? All these gauges that are in your standard automobile are all measures, okay? Combined, they enable you to have a feel for what is and is not performing on your vehicle. If all of a sudden you notice that your car won't run and all the gauges read normal except the gas gauge, that gives you an indicator what your problem might be, right? Okay, you may have run out of gas. Okay, well, it's as simple as that for an organization. So if you try to figure out how innovative you are, part of that is understanding what those measures would be, okay? All right, enough of that. And I screwed up. It said week 3. I don't know why I did that. That's week 6. So let's go in there. Let's fix that, okay? I apologize to you on that. I know I do some kind of pace, but I tend to try to catch things better than that. Chapter 6, okay. Now, in the assignment instructions this week, I'm sorry, in the announcements this week, you'll see that I gave you the scoring rubric that I'm going to use for your first paper, okay? It's attached here as a PDF file. Simply open. And it pops up there for you. Okay, so you have a possible of 30 points for 100% on this exercise, okay? So this paper plus the week 8 paper is 60% of your grade, okay? Now, don't kick these in the stands, okay? Take a close look. You'll see at the bottom here in comment section, I've told you, and I'm highlighting in blue now, okay? What needs to be covered? An introduction should just set the stage very simply and include a position statement. This company, this organization is or is not innovative would be a perfect position statement. And of course, when you say is or is not, you're taking a stand, okay, one way or the other, and you're not going to forget the 3 to 5 pieces of evidence you're going to use to justify your conclusion, right? Fundamental relationship, the one that matters the most, is your conclusion and the evidence you use to support saying. All right, second paragraph in your paper is a throwaway, definition of innovation. Hey, look, go in here, pull it out, use it, okay? And you'll be fine. Explanation of importance of innovation. Okay, now you're going to have to articulate some of what you learned reading this text, okay? Explanation of how innovation enhances an organization's success. Okay, remember, competitive advantage, right? And then explanation of the importance of leadership in organizations relative to innovation. You learned here in this text certain techniques plus an LDR 300, certain techniques to use to get people to perform, okay? Whether that's motivational tools, whether that's withholding of rewards, whether that's path goal theory. I mean, you've got a number that you can use, okay? So I'm looking to see what you bring in. Okay, again, this is a undergraduate college level, 300 level course. So let's get after it, okay? All right, so content is 21 points out of your possible 30. And those are all showed up right here, okay? Show me you've mastered some of the educational objectives. In other words, bring concepts in from the text. Your paper demonstrates an understanding of the issues, theories, principles, and concepts. If you don't bring any in, how are you demonstrating understanding? Okay? Critical thinking. You're breaking the issue into relevant parts. Synthesis. Okay? You're able to bring the whole together and make it coherent. And evaluation. We talked about evaluation, LDR 340. Okay, if you flip the page, you'll see that 9 points fill out organizational and structure. Okay, and this includes your thesis, your position statement. Don't put a position statement in your paper. Guess what you're going to get on this piece, okay? Support, how well, what kind of depth did you get into? Structure, meaning well organized and contains introduction, body, and conclusion. Again, I'm slapping the table here 3 times because I seriously recommend to you the use of paragraph headers. Helps you organize your paper. Okay, syntax and construction, making sure that your sentences are complete, grammatical, paragraphs are whole, make sense, and then connections and transitions. How well you move from one paragraph to the other. And then below that, style and grammar. What kind of originality are you showing me? Okay, if you're regurgitating the text and not giving me any of you, then that becomes a problem in and of itself. I need to see you in it. Some original thought from you. Okay, tone. Tone of the paper should generally be formal. Okay? Rhetoric. The rhetoric of the paper should be well developed and supported by logic. Okay? And then finally, mechanics of punctuation. Making sure you're spelling words correctly and then using the right words. So it's more than just spell checking the paper, it's also proofreading the paper to make sure there's no mistakes in spelling, abbreviations, italices, capitalization, colon use, whether you subscribe to AP style of comma usage or whether you're an Oxford comma person, okay? Again, no right or wrong answer as long as you're following the rules consistently, okay? All right, so let's take a look. We'll close this out. Let's go back to our slides. Okay. All right, again, what does the thesis statement look like? How do you do it? What you plan to argue? How you plan? Okay. Should be no surprises on that. If you need any help on this, again, University of Mount Olive has a writing center. Feel free to contact me and I can run through it, but most of you should know at this point, and I think generally do, how to write. Okay, Zoom is telling me that some of you are waiting. I suspect probably not that many. Okay. All right. Well, listen, I'm going to start shutting this down. so I can get going. Remember, oh, you're going to turn your papers in. You're going to upload to Moodle in what's called Turn It In, okay? So as an example, I'm clicking on it right now. All right, when you upload, what you're going to need to do is understand a couple things. Turn It In is going to look at your paper, and it's going to scan and see against its database of other papers, of textbooks, you name it, any similarities in your paper to what's already been published. And it's going to derive a score. Having 100% matched to what somebody else has written is not a good number, okay? Because that indicates there's no original thought and everything was lifted. Again, the difference between referencing and plagiarizing is making sure that you're properly crediting the person with what they wrote. Okay, so use of citations. There's a fine line in there. You need to use some, because I've asked you for it. All right, definition of innovation should be matching what is found in the text. And then again, properly cite where you found the definition. And we're good, okay? So don't get too wrapped up in that aspect. You know, write your paper, let the chips fall where they may. And then go back and use it. It'll highlight where it is found similarity between your writing and somebody else's. And then make a decision as to what you're doing there. But regardless of what your decision is, whether you're going to keep it or get rid of it, certainly make sure you think through proper citation of other people's work. Okay? All right. Fair enough. And oh, by the way, you can upload your paper now, test it, right? And then you know, keep improving your paper. You've had since the 7th of January the opportunity to upload your paper. Okay, how many people have done that? You suspect? Nobody has, okay? But if you wanted to upload to see what kind of number you would get, there's nothing preventing that right now. You submit it, okay? It gives you feedback, and then you can go back then and continue to refine and correct and improve your paper. Okay, so yeah, something you might want to think about and take advantage of. All right. Well, listen, thanks a lot for your attention. Everybody hang in there. Again, you're doing good work. I'm going to push your envelope some more. Make sure you understand some of the material and some of the criticality of it. Okay. Appreciate everybody's patience, and I look forward to reading what you come up with. So have a good night.